profile an outstanding South African academic and business leader whose career spans the classroom, the boardroom, and the global stage. Professor Pumela Msweli is the Executive Dean and CEO of the University of South Africa, UNISA's Graduate School of Business Leadership, SBL. Now, this is one of Africa's most prestigious business schools, recently accredited internationally by the Business Graduates Association. Now, she's built her career on excellence in teaching, research, and mentoring the next generation of leaders, having supervised more than 20 PhDs and 40 master's students, many of whom now hold senior academic and leadership positions. She's also a thought leader in intra-African trade, editing a major new book, Intra-Africa Trade: Will the AFCFTA Unleash Africa's Development Potential?, which brings together scholars and practitioners across the continent to tackle Africa's unique trade challenges and opportunities. Next month, she'll be delivering a keynote address at the second annual Leadership Development for Women in Higher Education Africa Summit in Johannesburg, where she'll be spotlighting women's leadership, global excellence. Well, this morning we speak to her about her life journey, her work in academia and leadership, and the challenges and opportunities for women in higher education and her vision for the continent's development. Professor Msweli, thank you so much indeed for joining us, and welcome to the program.
Thank you for inviting me, and good morning to your listeners.
So I want to start by taking you back to your childhood, actually, and your early days growing up in Durban. Tell us a little bit about those early years and any memories that you think you might have helped shape who you became later on in life.
Well, certainly, I think we were privileged to grow up during very tough times in South Africa, because we built resilience through those hardships. I do remember walking to school in the mornings in winter, when it's raining, walk about 5 kilometers to school, even though we could have been taken home by car. My dad, in his wisdom, made sure that we walk just like other children. And I think you don't build resilience without hardships. And I think and remember fondly about how my dad was not just a great scholar himself, but he was also developed in other intelligences. He was an artist, he had a band, he was an accountant. And I just thought that memory is important, because life requires multiple intelligences for one to succeed. You have to be developed spiritually, emotionally, cognitively, artistically, intuitively, because it is really a very complex, tough world we live in.
So did you fall in love with academics early on in life as a child, or was that something over time?
Well, my siblings remind me that all I wanted to do was to read, lock myself in a room and read. So I suspect those were the makings of my journey. I loved reading, and I used to read all sorts of things, from classics to spy literature. Yeah.
So most people know you as this leader in academia, but I guess outside of the titles and the accolades, who is Pumela Msweli? What drives you?
Many things drive me, and I am many things. I am a mom. I'm a CEO and executive dean at the SBL. I'm a poet. I am a dancer. I am an author. I'm a community leader. I'm a wife. I should have said that first. Yeah. So those multiple roles, I think they sort of make sure that I don't lead a very narrowly focused agenda in life. And I think they help me with tolerance, with understanding complexities in an institution as complex as our institutions in South Africa.
So now you're one of only a handful of women that are leading a major business school, and I guess this is a huge responsibility. What has this journey been like for you? I'm sure, and we've read about the successes, but there's been some challenges along the way. Tell us about this journey.
Oh, when you're a woman, just to be recognized and to be acknowledged, even by other women, you have to work 10 times harder. Um, it has been a very difficult journey. It had its very difficult moments, and it also had its beautiful moments. The first moment I can recall was when, in a transformed or South Africa going through a transformation process, one day I was appointed as an executive dean. Those days I was working at the University of Natal then, and all of a sudden, overnight, 90% of my friends stopped talking to me.
Wow.
Mm. And also, what I've picked up in my journey and appreciate is the changes in the socioeconomic dynamics. I have found that we probably are on a time ticking bomb with the family structures destroyed, because the kids in our classrooms, in our lecture theaters, are not the same as the way we were brought up. They've brought themselves up, they've brought themselves in media. You can see the decorum of the spaces we live in is almost lost in a lot of instances. And that really pains me. It pains me when I see the basics, the things that build communities being completely lost. And when I do my engaged scholarship work, when we go to communities, I've adopted a few communities in the Eastern Cape. The first pieces of work that we do is just to conscientize people to get back into the values of self-reliance, the values of trustworthiness, of truth. I cannot believe how lying has become normalized. Corruption has become normalized. Yeah.
So I'm glad you mentioned that because one gets a sense that a new kind of business leader is required to steer the ship in terms of the continent's progress. What kind of ship have you been steering? What's your vision for the kind of graduates that you want to come out of the SBL under your tutelage?
Without a doubt, we need leaders that are holistically developed, not just cognitively, metacognitively, spiritually strong, emotionally resilient, but with high levels of scholarship excellence. Scholarship excellence is a discipline with the artificial intelligence that people do not want to subject themselves to. And we want to build business leaders from our graduate school of business leadership that will say, I would rather lose my job than agree to being corrupt. We want leaders that transform society. We want leaders and graduates that are not here to just collect a qualification, but that want to transform our society to the highest levels of evolution. We need that in our communities. There's a lot of strife in our communities, and government can only give us the laws. It is the people that are going to change the same way the missionaries came to Africa and transformed us. We need to go back to the communities and recalibrate our value systems and remove this besottedness with materialism, being materialistic, and wanting material things at all costs without working hard for them. So we want a whole, integral human being who has built all the different aspects of their humanity with a strong value systems, who are able to resist and say no to corruption, who are ethical with integrity. Those are the leaders we need, who are prepared to die for their values and say, I would rather lose my job than do behave in a corrupt fashion.
Your business school, UNISA's SBL, has just received international accreditation from the Business Graduates Association. And I guess this is a big milestone, isn't it? Tell us a little bit about what it means for the school, for South Africa, and maybe even the continent.
Oh, thank you for that, because we are still so excited. We are a 60-year-old business school, and we've tried this international accreditation way back in 2001. We were not successful. We tried again as a business school in 2008. Again, we were not successful. And I really spent most of my 5 years in this position in the engine room, building the foundations of an internationally accredited business school. And for the first time, and remember, we are a 60-year-old business school. For the first time, we got that crown, that badge of quality, which means we are we are in the same level of quality. We are the same pedigree as any of the 200 internationally accredited institutions all over the world.
Wow. So graduates coming through the SBL now can feel that they are very international in terms of their outlook.
Absolutely. And they have access. One of the benefits of being accredited is that you have access to those networks. We can arrange for mentorships. You can actually log in when we do assessment. We can link up with them. You can tap into the cutting edge of information in any area or discipline in any part of the world that you're interested in, be it South America, North America, Europe, Asia, and even our own African country, sister business schools. So it's a very powerful network that our students are exposed to. And the most important thing is that their qualifications are elevated. Now they are internationally accredited, and our alumni can only be proud because it raises the standard, the pedigree, the quality of their qualifications.
You mentioned mentorship there, and that's very much who you are in many ways, having guided so many masters and PhD students. And a lot of them who've become professors today and senior leaders in business. Why is mentorship so close to your heart?
It is close because I'm not, as you know, it's my quest to contribute to my country, to contribute to Africa. People have died for us, for the freedoms we are enjoying. The little I can do is to do my very best in lifting those around us, and at least those I'm in contact with, because as professors, we have a responsibility to build the next cadre of professors, of stalwarts. We need more Mandelas, we need more Peter Ndoros, we need more Thabo Mbekis, we need more Gwede Mandashas, we need more leaders such as our departed leaders, Steve Bikos of this world. We need more leaders like Julius Nyerere. We need loads of leaders like that. And I believe this is my only contribution in the professorship position I hold, to mentor others. And it has always been my dream, even when I was a young academic. I didn't want to teach. I still teach. I didn't want to teach for the sake of teaching. I wanted to teach to produce Nobel Prize winners. I still haven't achieved that. So it's still a long journey.
Wow, Nobel Prize winners. I think you've already answered my last question, was a look to the future. But you've now put together an interesting book on intra-Africa trade, and I'm curious, what made you want to put this project together?
You know, Peter, when countries signed the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement in 2019, there's no literature. There's no one in academia talking about it. This has monumentally changed how business is done in Africa. And it's also reminding us that we are one Africa. It changes strategy, it changes our marketing strategy, our segmentation strategy, our targeting strategy, it changes our investment strategies, it changes our internationalization strategies. And as academia, we needed to lead that. So for me, it was a contribution to build a body of knowledge that our students can easily access, making the trade instrument accessible to our students, to policymakers, to entrepreneurs. And I believe it's very important because it has a potential to divide us if we are not aware of its power. And we need to remember ourselves as one Africa. You know, we should not be able to see a Nigerian sister different from a South African sister, or a Senegalese sister, or a Malawian brother from a South African brother. And it's a contribution that our forefathers, uh, when they met in 1963, to say, let us work towards integrating Africa. And for me, it is a contribution to that call.
So the book talks about Africa's unique trade problem. Unpack that for us. What do you mean by that?
I'm going to simplify it by just sharing the statistics. Isn't it a problem that when you look at the EU, you see the intra-European trade is over 60%. Intra-Asian trade is over 50%. Intra-American trade is over 50%. But intra-Africa trade is less than 16%. It's a serious problem, and that problem needs more than political will. It needs all of us. It needs the same verve, the same energy we had when we were trying to liberate ourselves from slavery, from colonialism, from apartheid. And it's not government alone who is going to liberate us from this economic, I would say, problems that we have. We have first to start with reclaiming our intellectual sovereignty before we move on, our integration as Africa. So that particular problem has to be dealt with in our policy instruments internally, in our trade facilitation protocols, and in our creating awareness in our business schools.
So a lot of the times, and journalists like us also very guilty of it. We talk about the AFCFTA in very big economic terms. How does it translate to the ordinary person on the ground, and especially small and medium-sized businesses that are the ones that actually are going to create the employment that's so badly needed?
So firstly, I want to talk about us. We can make a huge difference by just demanding African-made products. You know, how many times do people chase these labels from Europe in their clothing, in their shoes, in the food they eat, in the drinks they drink? If we can, as the middle class, as the intelligentsia class, as the celebrities, we say, we starting this movement, and it's something I'm preaching all the time. just interrogate what you're eating and demand that it is locally sourced. And if it's not locally sourced, it's sourced from Africa. That's the first thing. The second thing about small and medium enterprises, to tackle this huge market of 1.3 billion African people, over 3 trillion US dollars, you can't work alone. It's time for working in silos individually is gone. We've got to work and collaborate and form teams and form industry sectors, participate in groupings where we are collaborating, because entrepreneurs need to be part of their value chain in whatever sector they're in. It is also another thing I want to suggest to entrepreneurs is that make a decision what industry you want to focus in, understand that industry, and see how to participate in the entire value chain from production right up to consumption. The second thing I want to suggest is that let's stop being consumers of the products that have been produced by the owners of the means of production. Let us change our mindset. It is a mindset of ensuring that people build towards owning the means of production. From, if you cannot own the means of production from the land that produces the goods, I'm talking about goods now, but at least be part of the manufacturing, the production, the development of intellectual property, be part of the commercialization processes.
Right. We're running out of time, so I'm going to rush us a little bit because I know that next month you're delivering a keynote address at the Women in Higher Education Summit in Johannesburg. And I think one of the things you want to spotlight is women's leadership and global excellence. What's going to be your message?
My message is that, let's not go back to dividing ourselves between men and women. I believe that women are now privileged with the law. We really need to focus on uniting men and women. My biggest message is that let us lead in the family. Women were strong leaders in the family when our communities were still integrated. The systems, the colonial systems, the apartheid systems broke those family structures. We're not going to build anything lasting before we can strengthen family structures, community structures, and ensure that in our institution we unite instead of dividing people.
One last question, and I think an important one because there are so many people listening, particularly young people on the continent, having the youngest population in the world. What advice do you have for them and how to navigate the next steps so that they can take charge of our futures, all of our futures?
Thank you for that. I just want to say to the young people, when they are busy on their gadgets, they need to really start reflecting on how can they contribute to our countries, to our economy, because the answers lie within their own areas of passion. If you are passionate about a filming study, the biggest message is, please do not rush for instant success. That a success never lasts. Study. Be prepared to make mistakes. Be prepared to fail, because there's nothing like failure. It is just another form of learning. So youth, roll your sleeves. The most important message for me is that use your hands to do real work. Instead of just spending all your time in front of your gadget. Do real work. Be in touch with the soil. You will be surprised just being in touch with the soil with your hands in your garden, the inspiration you get from the cosmos, from the soil, from the air, and from all around you. So I really want to pass on a message of, let us get involved with work, real work that involves using our hands.
Professor Pumela Msweli, it's been an honor and a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for sharing your inspiring story with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's the Executive Dean and CEO of UNISA's Graduate School of Business Leadership, our Wednesday profile for today, Professor Pumela Msweli. It's time for your news headlines. Here's